One of the things I'll never forget is just the extent of the intense gaslighting that was happening throughout the genocide in Gaza. I will never forget it. I will never forget those arguments in the early days when the first hospital in Gaza was bombed, and you had Zionists swear up and down that, bro, that wasn't us. It could never be us. We wouldn't bomb a hospital, bro. It was like a misfired Islamic Jihad rocket, dog. This is what they were saying. Fast forward to today, they've bombed literally every hospital in Gaza. Over 20, I think over 30 hospitals have all been attacked. So, but they went all in on the propaganda for that first hospital. We would never do such a thing. It's not us, it's them, actually. And the media went right along. A lot of them had to do the both sides bullshit. Oh, they say this, they say that. And this is how you end up PRing your way through a Holocaust, right? Lie, gaslight. It's called double rhetoric. And you see this all the time. To Western audiences, they might lie and say they're doing the opposite of what they're doing. When they speak in Hebrew to the Israeli audience, they tell the truth and say, yeah, no, we want to kill as many as we can and we want to steal the land. This is what it is. And I'll never forget the intense gaslighting every step of the way. The gaslighting is still going on now. That asshole Scott Jennings on CNN who was saying, oh, it's a hoax. What's a hoax? That people are starving? Are you kidding me? They announced we're not allowing in the food. What do you think happens when you don't allow in the food? Oh, that one kid had some sort of medical issue, and so it wasn't because he was starving that he looked like that. Well, it is, because the medical issue he had came about because his mother didn't get adequate nutrition when she was pregnant with him. So that also is tied to the starvation, but there's countless, like every baby there, their fucking bones are showing. What do you mean it's a hoax? These are liars. These are Holocaust deniers. They're disgusting, bro. They're disgusting. So here's Mehdi Hassan, and God bless him for this. He decided to take some time and go through like the top lies of Israel. Let's see. Top 10 lies debunked from Israel about Gaza. Here we go.
The Israeli government has told so many lies since October the 7th, about October the 7th, about Gaza, about aid, that it's hard to remember them all, let alone keep up. Here, in less than 3 minutes, are Israel's top 10 lies about this genocide debunked. Start the clock. Lie number 1, the Israelis said again and again, including Netanyahu himself to the Nilt Boys, that Hamas was stealing the aid going into Gaza. But turns out, according to Israeli military officials, they never actually found any proof of that. No systematic theft. A study by the US government found no evidence either.
And by the way, what was actually happening there, and I believe it was, what was it? Was it Haaretz that ran this? I think it was Haaretz that ran this article. They said Israel was paying criminal gangs to go in there and steal the aid. So they would pay these like jihadist ISIS gangs, and they would say, hey, when we let in some of this aid, you need to steal it. And then that allows us to turn around and go, oh, Hamas took the aid. That was reported. That's a fact. That was reported. So it's actually even worse than just, oh, Hamas wasn't stealing the aid, which is a fact. But Israel was paying these criminal gangs to steal the aid on purpose so they could blame Hamas. There's always, as depraved as you think they are, they can always get more depraved. Like, they are more depraved than however depraved you think they are.
This war was about the hostages, about getting them home, and it would stop the moment Hamas released all the hostages, and yet the Israeli hostage families say they were told that Hamas offered on October 9th or 10th to release all the civilian hostages in exchange for the IDF not entering the Strip, but the Israeli government rejected the offer.
There's another one where it's like I feel so gaslit by all the Zionists in the debate. Because, yeah, we heard that by October 9th or 10th, they were like, yeah, we'll release all the hostages. Here are the terms of the deal. And then Israel would just pretend like they didn't offer that. They did. There was literally a time when Hamas said, we will release all the hostages and put down our weapons and leave Gaza. And Israel goes, no, we don't want Hamas to step down. What? Why? Because it was never about that. It's about reoccupying all of Gaza. And they just announced they're doing that. We're going to take all the land in Gaza. We're going to reoccupy it. We're going to put new settlements in there. We want to do ethnic cleansing and genocide, get rid of everybody there, and we're going to make it part of the Jewish state. That's what they're trying to do. And now we know that, and now we see. But that was the goal the entire time. All the talk about the hostages was bullshit. They wrote them off. They said, okay, they're gone. They're done. Fuck them. This is what the Israeli government was thinking and saying.
And Israeli ministers themselves keep saying again and again that the hostages are not their priority. Line number 3, beheaded babies, 40 beheaded babies. Even President Biden said he'd seen pictures of beheaded babies, but he couldn't have because there were no pictures, because there were no beheaded babies on October the 7th, nor were their babies put in ovens or hung on clotheslines. They were all lies. Even the Israeli press says so. You know which babies have been beheaded since October the 7th? Palestinian babies in Gaza from Israeli bombs. Line number 4, there was systematic mass rape by Hamas on October the 7th. Now, no one's saying there wasn't any sexual or gender-based violence on October the 7th, but mass rape as a weapon of war, well, the Times of London, a pro-Israel, Murdoch-owned right-wing newspaper, did a deep dive last year. Quote, Israel says Hamas has weaponized rape, but investigators say the evidence does not stand up to scrutiny. The UN Commission of Inquiry said last year that it had not been able to independently verify allegations of rape because of obstruction by the Israeli authorities, and the main Israeli prosecutor on the case has said, in the end, we don't have any complainants. Line number 5, there is a Hamas command and control center under Al-Shifa Hospital. They even put out this video showing what looks like a Bond villain lair under Al-Shifa, but it's been nearly 2 years and we've still seen no evidence whatsoever of that vast structure under Al-Shifa. But we have seen evidence there of mass graves filled with Palestinian corpses. Line number 6, the Rantisi Hospital was used to hide Israeli hostages, and we know this because here, unveiled by an Israeli military spokesman on camera, is a schedule used by the Hamas kidnappers, the Hamas guards, in the basement of the hospital, except it wasn't a guard schedule. It didn't have any names on it. It was just a calendar with the days of the week on it in Arabic. Line number 7, UNRWA is a front for Hamas, which was a claim Israel made and led to the US and other countries getting funding for UNRWA cut. Turns out it was all BS. Not only did the Wall Street Journal, which laundered Israel's lie on its front page, later privately admit that the Israeli claims haven't been backed by solid evidence, but a former French foreign minister who independently reviewed the UNRWA allegations says she was given no evidence by Israel to back them up.
And remember what that lie was used for. So they cut off the aid to UNRWA, they cut off the money to UNRWA, and all of the human rights groups that were doing the important aid work in Gaza, they say, oh, you're not allowed to do that anymore. You guys can't do that. Then Israel and the U.S. decide we're going to do the GHF, the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, which will be the new aid agency that works in there. Well, guess what? That's nothing but a front for Mossad and the CIA. And the whole purpose is to move along the genocide and the ethnic cleansing, which is why now we have the Green Beret whistleblower from the GHF, and he validates everything I'm saying here. What do? They would, first of all, only set up 4 places where you can get aid when there were 400 before. So there's 4 places. People show up, they get shot at. Every time they deliver aid, people get murdered. They get murdered. And eventually what the goal was is move them from this place to that place and that place to this place and get them in one tiny little corner of Gaza so Israel could take the rest of Gaza. And eventually they want to ship these people out to Libya or wherever they can make a deal to take Palestinians. That's the goal. So this is a CIA Mossad op to help complete the ethnic cleansing. This has nothing to do with actually delivering aid. They are woefully under-delivering aid. There's not nearly enough food, and it's like some Hunger Games fucking Schindler's List type shit that we're witnessing every day. And it all started with the lie that UNRWA is Hamas, and all these aid agencies are Hamas.
And number 8, you can't trust the number of deaths published by the Hamas-controlled health ministry in Gaza. Well, actually, you can. The Lancet Medical Journal says you can, and guess who else says you can? Israeli intelligence. One Israeli intel source said, I trust the health ministry in Gaza more than the IDF for these statistics. Line number 9, all those massacre denials.
You actually can't trust the Gaza health ministry because their infrastructure has collapsed to the point where there's no way they could keep up with the death toll. So according to them, right now the death toll is about 60,000. I guarantee you, the death toll is well over 100,000. That is the bare minimum, is about 180,000. That's the bare minimum of how many people have actually died. So yeah, you can't trust the Gaza Health Ministry because it's a massive undercount. Whereas what the Zionists say is you can't trust the Gaza Health Ministry because they pretend like it's an overcount, which is absurd.
Massacre 15 aid workers, except a Sky News investigation found they did. We didn't massacre over 100 people waiting to get flour, except a CNN investigation found they did. You simply can't believe their denials. Line number 10.
Yeah, they just lie. They just lie. We say this all the time, but when the Israeli government officials are saying something in English, giving a speech in English, or tweeting something in English, that's for a Western audience. And that's when they'll just lie, deny, like they have with all these things. But when they speak in Hebrew, they're usually more honest, more straightforward, and more open about their intentions. That's why you've seen so many of them talk about Amalek, the story in the Bible, where it's like, kill their women and their children and their animals and their sucklings and all these things as well. You hear them say there are no innocent civilians in Gaza. They are all guilty. You hear this very clearly, very straightforwardly, and usually when they're saying their most unhinged things, it's in Hebrew.
Shields. Hamas uses human shields. Well, Hamas hides under civilian areas, yes, but it's Israeli troops who literally strap Palestinians to the front of their vehicles. In fact, several Palestinians and soldiers told the AP.
I never knew that. Did you guys know that? That's a literal video of a Palestinian being put on the hood of an Israeli, like military vehicle.
Several Palestinians and soldiers told the AP that Israeli troops are systematically forcing Palestinians to act as human shields in Gaza. So there you have it, Israeli lie after Israeli lie, debunked in less than 3 minutes. You're welcome.
It's the dishonesty, right? It's the like, we've been so gaslit. If you said early on, as we did, that this is what they want to do the genocide, they want to do the ethnic cleansing, that's the point. The point is the carnage. The point is the savagery and the barbarism. That is the point. When you said that early on, people would laugh at you and they would act like you're insane to say that. And then God forbid you bring up the other accurate thing, which is they're trying to create a greater Israel. That was called like, oh, it's like a Nazi conspiracy theory. Well, we're already at the point where Israel has openly stolen large swaths of Syria. Openly, they did that. They're also bombing Lebanon. They also were bombing Iran, of course. But now they're openly saying we are going to reoccupy all of Gaza. We're going to take over Gaza. And then the other part is they've effectively annexed the West Bank. So take over all of Gaza, take over all of the West Bank, and steal large swaths of Syria. That alone is the project of the greater Israel. But I'd look out. If you're any other country in the region, look out, because these people are fucking high on their own supply. They've lost the fucking plot. They are incredibly bloodthirsty and barbaric. The U.S. is still backing them massively despite all the war crimes. And so they, like, Lord only knows the damage that they will continue to do as we move forward. Lord only knows. But we were right all along, every step of the way, and now the truth is coming out. And shout out to Mehdi for doing this great list. But I mean, honestly, that list could have been 50 things long. 50 things. In fact, I'm surprised he didn't have anything in there about the first hospital attack, where they swore up and down it wasn't them and it was Palestinian Islamic Jihad and we would never attack a hospital, and then shit. Then you literally lose count. I lost count of the number of hospitals they bombed, schools they bombed, UN buildings they bombed. The BBC just did a story the other day, something like 165 specific examples of children getting shot in the face and the chest, all under 12 years old. You saw the doctor that was in Gaza who talked about the sick game that the IDF would play, where on any given day, they would say, okay, today's the day where we're all going to go for the chest. Or today's the day where we're all going to go for the leg. Today's the day where one of the days was we're going to go for the testicles today. And so the doctors would say, on a given day, every single kid who showed up in the emergency room would be shot in the same body part. And it was clear it was this depraved game being played by the IDF, this sadistic game being played by the IDF right in front. This is what this is, bro. This is the nature of what we're witnessing. We're witnessing a psychotic state in the middle of a fascist terrorist mania, and they're carrying out the worst atrocities we've ever seen in modern history. And so you can't say enough about how horrific they are, how genocidal they are, and how much they've been gaslighting every step of the way and lying every step of the way, and they don't care. They simply don't care. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.